セガサターンシロ。
Hey everyone, happy Friday SHIRO Show. I'm SaturnDave, your host today, and unfortunately Pat could not join us because he's still feeling a bit under the weather. I'm gonna turn off his cam because he's not there. But yeah, no, thanks for joining us today, and we have a little bit of news to talk about this week, but for the most part, we're probably just gonna, make stuff up as we go. I've got Anthony Night of Dragon in the chat. We even got random stuff joining us today, who might add some color commentary from Peru. I believe it was Peru. And yeah, so how you doing, Anthony? Since I normally ask Pat.
Yeah, I'm doing quite well. Just started my vacation, so I got a whole week of doing nothing.
Whole week of doing nothing sounds good to me. I don't even know what that is. If I'm not working at work, I'm not like, or I'm at home like working in the backyard or doing chores or something like that. It's like go all the time.
Oh yeah, that's how I'm gonna be. But at least I don't have to worry about my business.
Yeah, that's good. If I literally had nothing to do, I would just be messing around with the Netlink stuff all week, or I don't know, streaming games or whatever. But as it is. Yeah, this week has been busy, kind of down to the wire today. Got home right before the show, and here we go. We're gonna make this thing happen. Anyway, I just want Pat to know, if he's out there listening, that I hope you feel better, man. And sorry that everybody's getting sick all the time. Hope you feel better though. Yeah. So as far as updates go, I know. Anthony, I know you and Joe have been working on just refining the whole UDP settings with the Netlink tunneling method. I think you guys discovered, you were telling me just before this show, you were telling me that you basically found out that you weren't dropping any packets, which was one of the concerns you guys had, was that there might be some packets being dropped, and so you guys were doing like redundant packet sending just to ensure that no packets were lost. But you basically wrote like a logger, right? That logs your guys' connection, and you were able to find out that there weren't any packets being dropped. Correct?
Yeah, correct. What's going on is, well, what we tested was just the receiver side logging. So every packet that got to my machine, I would write to a file saying, here's a packet. So, and then what we did after that was we took the data, threw into Excel, and did a bunch of crazy stuff to determine what we were losing, where we were seeing spikes.
Right.
And we determined that, yeah, we did not hit any packet loss whatsoever between our gameplay that night.
Well, that's good. And I know that Joe was saying he has a really good internet connection. And I think you do too, right? And you guys are pretty close to each other. So that helps a lot. I know when he's testing with me, or when you're testing with me, I'm on Wi-Fi, so that's considered basically like a lossy connection. So that's good to test, just to make sure that everything works, but you guys are testing under better circumstances for that kind of thing. But like you were saying, once you start testing with folks across the globe, then you'll really be able to see if packet loss is an issue. But I know you guys so you're basically at the point where you're just trying to figure out why the two Saturns keep having trouble syncing, right? Or they have to like resync every once in a while.
Right, that's our top priority.
That's literally the only. Yeah.
For some reason, every once in a while, we hit a spike where the game just pauses for a second. We're trying to figure out why it does that when we know it's not packet loss.
But it's nothing like the VoIP days where it would pause and it would just literally freeze. You'd be sitting there like, okay, I've got to rebound. You're like you're about to turn the corner in Sega Rally, and then it freezes, and you're just like, oh hell, how am I gonna get out of this turn? I don't even remember what my line was, and then it unfreezes, and you're just like trying to like oversteer to control. No, it's nothing like that. Like at the very worst, we're just talking like tiny little blips where the game just freezes for a second and then continues. So yeah, I mean, if you guys can, really, it just comes down to that, like getting to the bottom of that and figuring out how to iron that out. But already, I can honestly say I'm just really, really impressed with the performance that Joe has gotten out of this, and it could be better if it was written in C. You were saying, right? Like all things considered, but it had to be in Python Because DreamPi is in Python, right?
I wouldn't say better, but I hate Python, so
Oh, okay.
it would have been better for me if it was in C. But
So it wouldn't be
because
the code wouldn't be more lightweight or easier to it wouldn't it's not like there's no overhead in terms of like the code, right?
I mean, there's overhead, but for what computer systems we run today,
Right.
it doesn't matter.
It's negligible, right? And DreamPi DreamPi is able to keep up, right?
You would have to know. I don't have a DreamPi.
I don't have a DreamPi either. But the thing is, I know that they're not all created equal, though. It's from my understanding, like there are DreamPis based on Pi 0, which I think is Wi-Fi only. And I know that it's not as powerful as like a Pi 3 or a Pi 4, right? So
well, yeah, there are two kinds of Pi Zeros, one with and without Wi-Fi.
Okay.
They should be as fast as Pi 2s, if I'm remembering correctly.
Okay. Yeah. See, I don't really know anything about it. I would love to get a DreamPi at some point. It's one of those things I haven't pulled the trigger on yet. And honestly, having other means of doing things, it's just kind of like it just hasn't been an absolute necessity. But I'm probably gonna, as soon as I want to get my Dreamcast back online, I'm probably gonna have to. Not to mention the fact that all the PPP stuff, like the internet protocol stuff, cannot be done on Windows 10, right? You just cannot have Windows 10 be like a dial-up ISP.
Right, yeah, they took a lot of that stuff out. They really want you to be a Windows server, so...
And there's no Python scripts or something that could put that functionality back in?
No.
No, I didn't think so. So yeah, if you guys want to, if you're interested in the whole tunneling thing and you want to be like using the Planet web browser, sending, receiving emails and doing all that stuff with other Saturn users, you probably want to invest in a DreamPi. Not to mention the fact that the whole tunneling thing is really designed for DreamPi at the end of the day. But it's nice that there's a PC solution as well for doing matchups, you know. So yeah, hopefully I'll get back to testing with you some more in the next week if you're available for that. Also,
Gosh.
Oh yeah, anything else you want to add to that?
No, I'm good.
No, you're good. Okay, cool. So yeah, aside from that, I figured I would let folks know this isn't anything I wrote an article up on, but Will from Will's Console Mods on Twitter. This is the dude that did the toggle switch for the Fenrir. Wants to know if folks are interested in another batch of 20 pin units, and Danthrax brought this to my attention. So if you are, if you didn't get in on the first two batches that he did and you want to get a toggle switch so that you can have your Fenrir installed and your CD drive at the same time and be able to switch between the two, go hit him up on his Twitter. It's Will's Console Mods UK. Anyway, just look for Will's Console Mods. You'll find it on Twitter and let him know. I think he put up a poll or something like that. It was just gauging people's interest in whether or not they'd like him to do another batch, because I think, it comes at a cost and time and everything like that. So, but the last two batches sold out, so I imagine that there's some interest for sure. Anyway, hold on a second. I got to bring up the comments because I'm not seeing. Also, thanks to Rob Stadler, who just donated to the tip jar. Last week we had a crazy stream with Pat, and we're just kind of doing our normal thing, and then all of a sudden people start throwing money in the tip jar, and I was like, I didn't even know we had a tip jar. What the hell, And then of course people started getting crazy with the donations and everything, but we really do appreciate you guys supporting us, and yeah, this is just such an awesome and positive community. We really appreciate the support. And I do need to. Oh, okay. So be sure to reach out to Will and let him know if you are interested in having him do another batch of those. I believe it's like $40, something around there. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is, have you seen this? What is it? Have you seen this? This Sonic keyboard? It's like a Sonic gamer keyboard or whatever. It's like got to be the ugliest thing I've ever seen. Have you seen this, Knight?
Oh, I was waiting for this thing to pop up. Yeah, I've seen that.
Oh, you seen that? It's just literally ugly as hell. I cannot believe it. I guess it's like a Walmart exclusive thing. and it's just really, really bad. Yeah, it's
The
terrible.
keyboard looks straight up garbo, yo.
Is this Pat? Is that Pat?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, dude, you
This is the
sound
reason
about
why-
about as trash as this keyboard looks.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at it and I didn't know if it was mechanical or not, but at the price point it looked like complete garbo, so I assumed no. So
What does it even matter if it was? Like they could have done so much better with this, making it look like a Sonic. Like, first of all, the whole thing ought to be like blue with like some orange accents and maybe some red. Like, I don't know. I just feel like they gave this to like a 5-year-old and said, "Here, design this."
it looks like
It's
those
just
old ass keyboards are like, you know, the baby's first keyboard with like A, B, C, and D instead
seriously.
of QWERTY.
The headphones look so cheap. The whole thing just looks like they took the cheapest. Here's a custom one that looks way better.
Yeah,
But,
there's also they did a Pokemon one a couple years ago by Razer, but it's like a couple $100 or
Oh,
something
man.
crazy.
Oh, that's
And in
crazy.
Japan only. It was really weird. I don't know why they did that.
Man, I'm so sorry. You sound terrible. I'm so sorry, Pat. I'm glad you could, you know, poke your head in and say hi, but yeah, I really hope
Yeah.
I feel better, man. But anyway, yes.
Yeah, I just want to hop in real quick to keyboards garbo. Don't buy it unless you're
Do
dumb.
not buy don't buy that crazy crap. I mean, honestly, like, you get what you pay for at Walmart. Like, all their gaming stuff gets really, really, really poorly rated at Linus Tech Tips, you know, or the Linus Media
Yeah.
Group.
I'll put up a guide if you guys want a mechanical keyboard to know which one to get that's not that. And some
Oh,
cool
yeah.
keycap. So
I trust
I'll
your
do that.
judgment, Pat. Pat knows where it's at when it comes to mechanical keyboards. I always hear him
Sounds good.
typing away, tickety tick tick tick. But yeah, so
but
don't
anyways, I'm gonna go lay down back now. I just want to hop in real quick. I'm watching the show.
for sure, man, for
kind
sure.
of in like kind of in vague consciousness, so I'm like fading in and out right now watching it. So
Well, we love you, man, and we really hope that you feel better. Hopefully, you're all healed up for next week.
yeah, we'll see. All right, well, I'll talk to you guys later.
Yep. Let's see here. So, news. Danthrax, I don't know if he is around. Let me see. I have to keep poking my head back into Discord to see who's there. Hey, Danthrax, how's it going? So, Dan, you did a couple of emulation-related articles.
I did.
Which I'm grateful for. You've become like our go-to guy for emulation news. And considering...
I'm happy to not just be the guy writing articles about like old Saturn games brought to new consoles, because I feel like that's a lot of the stories I've written, and like they're exciting. I think they're cool. I think it's cool when that stuff happens, but I'm glad to show that I can write about other things too.
Yeah. You know, and here's the thing. We always say on SHIRO, Pat and I always say we're anti-elitism and we're anti-gatekeeping, you know? So there are so many different kinds of Saturn fans, and if we can have a massive community because some people are playing on emulation and some people are playing on real hardware and some people are doing FPGA cores and stuff like that, you know, all the more the better, you know? So I don't care what way you play, you know, you can do some really great stuff with emulation, not to mention upscaling and like rendering higher resolution, you know, smoothing textures, doing all sorts of really cool stuff via emulation, depending on which emulator you're using. Not to mention like net play and stuff like that. So there's a lot of great stuff you can do with emulation. We're not anti-emulation. We just we're always just looking critically at everything, you know, to make sure that they're doing like the best that they can with each thing. You know, I know sometimes we get critical of like the emulation that gets done on like Switch or something like that if it's poorly implemented, you know. But in most cases, I would say that, you know, they're probably half of the Saturn scene out there these days, just due to costs, are playing via emulator. And so I'm really glad that you are that you have been keeping us up to date on what's going on with the emulators. Can you, since you're here, do you mind telling us a little bit about Beetle Saturn, the retro arc?
Yeah, I mean, in this particular story you're bringing up here that I posted late last week,
Right.
Yeah, it's just like a small little update compared to the Beetle article from like a week before that, a couple weeks before that.
Mm-hmm.
But basically the news is that the big update that they brought to the retro arc Saturn core, the Beetle Saturn core, because I think they have a couple different Saturn-related cores for the RetroArch. You can kind of run different ones, whatever you want. But the Beetle one, which is based off of the Mednafen emulator, which you can get on your PC, that one got brought to the Steam version of RetroArch. You can actually go on Steam and just download RetroArch for free, and then you can get whatever cores you want for your RetroArch as if it's DLC on Steam.
Okay.
And, so they updated the Beetle Saturn DLC, quote unquote, on Steam. And I guess, I was asking, I think I asked in the Discord, I'm like, so why would you want this on Steam as opposed to like just the standalone RetroArch release? Like, why would you care? And somebody, I forget the screen name off the top of my head, I'm sorry, but they replied to me. I think it was one of their administrators over there, one of their moderators. I pretty much put in a paragraph there down toward the bottom that it lets you use Steam's remote play function, use the Steam input configuration to kind of like set up your controller however you want. You get cloud sync for your save files, and it'll automatically update your Saturn Beetle core and all your other RetroArch cores for you. You don't have to like manually figure that out. So I guess there are some nice things to running it through Steam. It's pretty cool that they took the time to go ahead and make that update.
Cool. Mednafen, that's the my emulator doesn't need a fancy name emulator, right?
Yeah. So that one seems to run the best for people on PC. Although, as our next article talks about, developer of SHIRO is working to make that one better. I mean, the thing about Mednafen is it doesn't have quite as many like debugging features as SHIRO, and it can be a little obtuse for people because it uses like command line stuff. Although I never use the command line when I use Mednafen. I just drag a Q file on top of the Mednafen exe file and just drop it on there, and it just brings up Mednafen and starts running it. Right. So wait,
like before we get to before we get to the Yaba branch of stuff, so Mednafen, you're saying that from your experience, Mednafen is the easiest to use or the most user friendly?
Or
just works the best?
It works the best. Yeah, it seems to have the best compatibility, has the fewest glitches when it's running games. It seems to run pretty much every game. I mean, I haven't really heard of people saying, and Anthony or somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't really heard of too many people saying, oh, this game won't run on Mednafen. Usually a problem like that is because you're trying to run the wrong region or something.
Or maybe the image is bad.
Like we had that problem with our bulk slash patch initially. We had like hard-coded like all of the regions. Like it was just every region. The game applied to, and doing that, it literally will name all of the different region codes in the ip.bin file, and what Mednafen does is it tries to like match its region to whatever region of game you're trying to boot up. So it just looks at whatever the first region code it finds and makes itself that. And it's like that conflicted with how the rest of the game ran, so it just would not run on Mednafen when it was trying to make itself like an EU copy or something. Like EU might have been the first region code that it found in the IP file.
Right.
So it tried to make itself like use the European BIOS, and then that didn't run right. I don't know. So like you have edge cases like that where it might not work right, but generally, its compatibility is really good. So cool. I imagine that since they've updated it to have feature parity with the PC version, that the RetroArch version should have really good compatibility too for people. Yeah.
So Mednafen is great for compatibility, and then you wrote an article about SHIRO, which kind of addresses the issue of compatibility, correct? Because they basically added in the ability for more games to boot because go ahead and talk about how they implemented the caching for the SH2s. That was a previous.
And I don't know I can't explain the ins and outs of that too much for you. I just pretty much asked Miax there on Twitter, like, hey, so what did you do to make this version better? Like, why is this version better, and what did you do to do that? And his response was pretty simple. I put the quote in the article. It was like that he worked on emulating the bus that goes to and from the Saturn memory. He worked on emulating that more accurately. So pretty much how data is flowing in and out of the SH2 RAM, which is the main processor. And so that's you measure the memory speed. Yeah, you got it there of each bus, and then reflect the emulation. So he's got the speed more accurate, and there's probably some games who like need that very precise timing that we're not running correctly or not running at all as a result of it. And so he named 3 games that are now running at all, newly bootable games, which are a Gundam game, that Gundam Century, as well as Galaxy Fraulein Una 3, which I think has a fan. Does it have a fan translation?
Galaxy Fraulein? I don't know.
Maybe not. I feel like there's something with that game, or maybe that's one of the games that optionally uses the expanded RAM. I don't know. There's something about that game that makes it stick out to me in my head. But then the third game is this. He put Full Cowled, but I was looking at. I think it's just called Full Cowl. Yeah. Either way,
Full Cowl. That's the little. That's the little like racetrack. The little. Yeah. Those little slot car.
Slot cars. Yeah.
Slot cars.
Pocket cars. Yeah. That's what that game is. And then he fixed some outstanding graphic issues that people had reported having problems with in Cotton Boomerang, which it was. I saw the evidence on the GitHub for the Cotton Boomerang error. It was like duplicating part of the frame within the frame you're looking at. It's like you were seeing 2 copies of the same sprite on screen. It was very strange looking. That's fixed. And then that Hanafuda game is
It'd be Bishoju.
It had some weird graphics corruptions. Like they're like the outlines of sprites. Like the sprites are supposed to be there, and instead they're just black on the screen. The background would be correct, but the actual sprites on the background would just be black. It wasn't loading right. And then he fixed Contra Legacy of War, which it was supposed to have like its whole loading screen, and instead it was just black.
Yeah.
So I mean, just the fact that he's got these as being major improvements that he's listing shows you that that's the main thing that needs to be worked on with Yabusan SHIRO, is the fact that it does not boot every game, and it sometimes has issues with certain games. So, like, I know for just something I wanted to test when I saw this, I didn't realize that he had put out an update. They, Mirax, put out an update to Yabusan SHIRO a few months ago, and another one last year. The version of Yabusan SHIRO I had been using was out of date by more than a year, and it's the one I used all through working on Bulk Slash last year. And I just I like using Yabusan SHIRO just because I've used it so much that I'll oftentimes just like pop a game into that. And and one of my favorite games on the Saturn is Fighting Vipers, which is on the screens behind you there and in your blue screen.
Yeah.
And
I didn't know that. I didn't know Fighting Vipers was one of your favorite.
Yeah, it is. I love Fighting Vipers. It's so cool. And it never ran in Yabusan SHIRO, which really disappointed me because I like putting games into Yabusan SHIRO and then like turning off different VDP layers and stuff like that, and just like seeing how they got the game to run.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like that's just fun to me. And I could never do that before. And so when I grabbed this latest version of Yabusan SHIRO, I popped Fighting Vipers in there and it booted right up. Nice. I was so happy. So, and maybe that was something he fixed in an update from, a few months ago or last year or something. A few months ago, he, as I put in the article, he worked on emulating the processor's cache better. And that brought a bunch more improvements. I guess that made a lot more games run better, which that would make sense if he wasn't emulating the cache for the processors.
I know.
Accurately, and that would be a really important part. So
yeah, when it comes to a lot of these games, when it comes to a lot of these specific games where developers kind of like they either did workarounds or they like, did quirky little things to get their games running the way they wanted them to. It's very important. That's where it's like becomes really important to have the hardware, behave like it's supposed to, and so when you're doing emulation, it could be tricky, to have those things actually work the way they're supposed to, versus like with an FPGA where it's literally just behaving however the hardware is supposed to behave, but
Right.
But yeah, that's good. That's good news for folks who like the Yaba SHIRO arm of things, and there's a lot of great functionality that emulator brings with it, and in addition to like Android support, that I think that's the main one on phones.
Yeah, it is like kind of the go-to when you're trying to play Saturn games on your Android phone. I guess it can kind of work on an iOS phone too, but you have to like do some weird arcane stuff to decide on your iPhone, obviously. But so it's nice to improve that for cell phone users too.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Dan, for writing these things up on the website. And I know everybody who like is real into emulation. For one, like Nuno over at the Junkyard, that's all he does is play Saturn via emulation. And I mean, he's got loads of nostalgia for it because he was an OG fan back in the day, growing up in Portugal. But that's pretty much his go-to nowadays is Saturn emulation on a beefy PC. And I think folks like him, there's a lot of them out there, and people are really interested in seeing what's happening in the emulation scene. So thanks for keeping us up to date. We appreciate it.
No problem.
And another community related article. This is something that actually I believe you did kind of bring to my attention, right? Like we should definitely cover this. And I just kind of like this wireless 3D control pad is something that has kind of been in the works for a while. We checked in with Izzy back in like November of 21. And so it's been like 8 months. And, it's not like they've been able to... Well, hold on a second. Before I go on, I actually want to address the folks in the comments. I want to say thanks to Blue Moon for the donation. Thank you to Tanuki Trev. You guys are already our supporters. You're already our monthly Patreon supporters, but you guys are just going the extra mile here, throwing tips in the tip jar. I appreciate that for sure. And if anybody else has any comments, toss it into I'm looking at them right now. I just am not able to look at them during the entire show, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys might have. But if not, I'll keep going. I'll keep going. Yes, Beetle and Knight is clarifying Beetle is Mednafen. It's just like a port of it. Okay, so moving on to this article. So basically, going back to the beginning, you'd have to go all the way back to the beginning of the pandemic when everybody was kind of bored after a couple months of just working from home, or people were starting to like start hobby projects, or figure out what they were going to do with all this extra time they had. And one of those individuals was Arthremus, yeah, on Twitter, who essentially created this new Edge Connector PCB. Was available to the community. And RetroRGB did a quick write-up about it. I can click to that real quick. So yeah, RetroRGB did a little write-up on it, and just basically a clone. There's even like a 3D printed part, because I guess this would be for folks who, I think it might have just been for folks who had a 3D control pad but didn't have the cable, or the cable was broken, because they are removable. They could become detached, and the cable part could get lost, and then you'd have a 3D control pad that would be useless without this. So, you had this PCB available to the community as an open source thing. And Drew Kanaz, or Hex Freak, became interested in the possibility of hooking that up to an Arduino Nano, and essentially trying to create like a Bluetooth low energy wireless solution out of it. So here, he and this was of course back in like October of 21, got an Arduino Nano, attached it to the little PCB and started working out a solution. And after just a little bit of work, he was able to get data transfer going. I will mute that, but you guys can see that, you know, he was able to get the Bluetooth link working and send and receive data to PC, essentially. And then, you know, fast forward a little bit, and Izzy Patrick was inspired by Drew's work. And you know, they essentially decided to kind of do like a spin-off or their own project inspired by that, but having a lot of ambitious, just a whole slew of features, or, you know, basically including solderless install, no controller modification required, Bluetooth to PC, mode switching, analog and digital, OLED support, USB LiPo charging, battery charge percent and charging status OLED, tilt input. That's really, I think that was like the last thing, because that's really ambitious, but, you know, could be done with some kind of like gyro or something. But essentially, that was the list of plans for the project. And then, of course, you had like a 3D printed enclosure for the back part of it. And that's about the time that it came to our attention. We wrote this little article about the simultaneous projects going on. And then it's just, we've kind of been on hiatus since then, because I know Drew was had a bunch of other stuff, you know, occupying their time. And then, of course, Izzy, I think, had been kind of working on it here and there, but like, you know, life gets in the way. So, you know, these aren't, and again, like, this is a monumental undertaking in terms of like implementing this. So I don't think it's just something that would happen overnight, but it's been about 8 months. And I would say back in May, there was a proof of, there was basically a proof of connection on Izzy's side, showing that button presses were registering. It was sending data wirelessly. A little bit of lag there, but definitely an exciting proof of successful wireless input. Then you also had a video demonstrating, essentially demonstrating the screen, the screen attachment, showing like the boot up, customizable boot logo, mode switching, battery stats, readout demo, and of course, like it's just a work in progress. And when it comes to the battery, you know, all that would just end up being either shrunk down or just put into a 3D printed package on the back. But that was exciting. And then, you know, a status update on June 12th, showing further improvement. I think that this video basically shows that they got, they were working together to get the, the latency or the input lag down a little bit. And there's still a degree of input lag. You can see on this next video, there's like a quick button press demonstration, kind of showing, showing roughly like how quick it is to change settings, or, you know, how quick the button presses are. But the most recent video that's kind of going viral in the Saturn community is this one right here, that demonstrates. Actually, I don't know if I should go full screen on that, but this one right here demonstrates, essentially demonstrates gameplay in Nights into Dreams, and I think it really is it's a really good demonstration video, because Nights into Dreams is a game that relies on absolutely accurate, like quick and accurate input, and you will see that when they move their thumb in circles, that the system can't keep up. Like, Nights is not actually moving in 1-to-1 parity. It's kind of like trailing behind quite a bit. So there's a definite degree of input lag still, and I don't know if that's something they're able to get down. But I mean, still, this is huge. I mean, so, you know, I think there's plenty of reason for folks to be excited. But I'm just hoping that maybe it's possible for them to get that input lag down. On certain games, it's not going to be an issue. But I mean, Kenji Tasaki said it himself, and this controller was created for Nights. So it literally is the Nights controller. And one would hope that, you know, the performance would be as good as it could be, you know. I think part of the latency comes from the fact that they're using like low power Bluetooth, and if this were like 2.4 gigahertz, it probably would have lower latency, but of course power efficiency is at the core of these designs, so it probably wouldn't be practical. That said, they might consider it down the road. Who knows? Also, Drew did mention the possibility of trying to get the Brook Wingman adapter to work with this, so that's another possibility. There's a lot of possibilities out here. You know, maybe they could sell. Yeah, somebody. I think Captain Hawden in the comments says Retrobit probably couldn't sell enough of them to make it worth it. But I was actually thinking about that. I was thinking, I wonder if a third-party company would, you know, like use the design or something like that. Certainly, if they make it open source, if they make this like an open source schematic, then, you know, somebody could come along and try to commercialize it. But there has been no indication of that. You know, I think it's been talked about. Oh, go ahead.
Hey, it's Derek. How's it going, guys?
Oh, hey, Derek.
So actually, what's up, man? So funny you brought this up. I left a comment or a reply on that tweet earlier.
I saw that
today, or yes, yeah. So they actually answered, because I asked about potential, you know, future manufacturing,
right?
Status of open source, and they said initial plan and primary motivation is just to release the PCBs and code to the community.
Okay.
And then goes on to say, I'll need to look more into licensing aspect, because I said, would you be open to working with a third party, you know, cut you in on profits and all of that. But I told them I understand the sentiments being fueled by passion and hobby project, but I would love to see this turn into something real one day. How great would a wireless 3D pad be? Absolutely.
I mean, it would be phenomenal. I mean, what better controller to do it than the one that is already has like a removable dongle? It's not like everybody has to. It would be much more cost effective, because I think, you know, then companies as a proposition of creating this thing, they're really only looking at having to create the attachable dongle portion and the receiver, rather than having to create the entire controller, all that. And, you know, like, that would be ridiculous, because Kenji Chisaki even mentioned that they're using these 3D control pads use a specific CPU and a chipset that basically interprets input as a complicated curve, and there's like an algorithm behind it and everything. Like, so it would be just completely unfeasible for a company like Retrobit to come along and try to like duplicate that. If anything, Retrobit would do what Tosaki did not want to do, and that's use volume, what was it, like, I think he called it volume sensors, kind of like the PS2 does, kind of like you know, kind of like every modern console does now. They basically license that technology from it's the same technology that's been used over and over and over again, and there's a lot of drift. You know, the center point drifts a lot. It's not as precise as these Hall sensors that they used in the 3D control pad. So, I mean, so that's the great thing about it. They had enough forethought to design it like that, so that you could just detach, you know, whatever add-on peripheral you were using. And so I think this is fantastic that they're doing this. And the way things go in this community is we all inspire each other to do cool stuff. I kind of mentioned that in the article. I think that that's the one takeaway, really, is that this community has a way of individuals inspiring each other to do great things. And this is a good example of that, where what started from like a clever PCB design just has spun into this thing that's taking shape into something that a lot of people wouldn't have thought was possible. So I think it's great. Well, I did see that response, Derek. So thank you for asking that question. I was going to mention that. And at least we know, and Drew did say that they were going to release their design just like they did with the Mark I controller, where you could like swap the Retrobit guts into the Mark I controller. Mm-hmm. They're gonna release the schematic for folks to and the 3D prints and stuff like that for folks to be able to DIY. But I mean, if this ends up growing legs and becoming like a commercial product, I think that would be great.
It would be amazing.
I'd really love to see
Absolutely.
8-bit Doe do it. Honestly, I think, you know, no offense to Retrobit, but I mean, like 8-bit Doe makes some pretty tight stuff, you know, and right now all they offer is like I believe it's like a pad mod. You can modify your pads to have like Bluetooth. I'm not sure
for Saturn, but it's stuck on, and this is where my modern console knowledge falls off. It's stuck on, I forget what type of mode, but essentially you'd have to literally you'd have to modify the PCB to get true to Saturn button mappings. So it's really not designed to be used on Saturn hardware, which is a real shame.
That is a real shame. Okay, so
great piece of kit. There's also the AliExpress red PCB kit that's basically the same thing for anybody out there looking to do a DIY.
Right. Yeah, so, and you mentioned AliExpress. I wouldn't be surprised if someone on AliExpress gets wind of this, especially if it goes open source, you know, and then we end up seeing something.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you know, who knows? Back in 2017, 2018, we were talking about all these what ifs, you know, and here we are. We've had a lot of what ifs come to fruition in this community. So, you know, here we are with their netlinks tunneled online, and the performance is incredible compared to, like, you know, we were gawking at the VoIP solution, you know, years ago, saying that was amazing, and we were putting up with the terrible sync issues and the lag and stuff. But I mean, it's come a long way just because people like, you know, like Joe, SEGA RPG fan, are, you know, dedicating their free time to rejuvenating and keeping this console alive, and it's stuff like that that gives this scene a lot to be excited for. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what else happens with this project. I did go ahead and post this on Retro RGB as well, so the greater retro gaming community will be aware that this is something coming down the pipe. But yeah, I'll just leave it on this video so folks can see the demonstration of it working. So really, when it comes to this, when he's like moving his thumb around in circles, you can kind of see how Knight's trails behind. And that's kind of, you know, that's kind of what I'm used to seeing on a lot of like Bluetooth, you know, analog Bluetooth controllers and stuff like that, is that kind of delay. But I think knowing this game so well, I'm used to it being like exact. It's like Knights usually moves exactly as your thumb moves, you know, which is just crazy. But if we can even get halfway there, I think that it would be pretty playable for most folks. Anyway, yeah, so I don't know what else to talk about, but we're coming up on, like, we got 15 minutes left in the show, so you guys want to throw anything out? Any extra topics that we could discuss? Knight?
Well, yeah, I've been dabbling with a little bit of homebrew, trying to get our own custom Netlink app going, and boy, is that thing a pain. I've been coding it with Yaul or Yaul. He prefers Yaul,
okay,
so we go Yaul. And it's
Yet
been
another
quite an adventure.
Yeah.
So far.
So what kind of Netlink app are you doing?
Right now, it's just basically a test app, so we could see all the data that's getting passed through the tunnel, so we could fine tune as best as we can.
Cool. Well, that's going to be. Are you thinking about maybe submitting that for the 28th annual competition?
Maybe. It's such a long way off. We'll see. We'll see what I make and if it's worth it.
I definitely think Joe should submit the tunneler. He could do that, right? I mean, that counts, right? I know it's not like running on the Saturn, but I mean, it's like, you know.
No, it's still utility for Saturn, and we have that category now. So I told them like weeks ago, submit that.
Yeah, because it's groundbreaking. I mean, it's huge. And I know I'm biased, but I think it's a big deal. And anytime you're restoring functionality to the original hardware, it's a big deal. So shouts to Joe and shouts to you, Knight. I appreciate the tools that you're writing. It's gonna help us hopefully get this thing perfect or close to perfect, which is the goal. You know?
I mean, it already is pretty close.
I know, right? Now it's really just perfectionist. That's the thing. He's trying to get it perfect. But yeah. So you guys done great. He's done great work. Zaiden, I should mention Zaiden, who's done tons of testing, years of testing with Joe, and he's bringing back the Netlink Zone stuff. So, or the Saturn pipe. It's going to be the Saturn pipe. But I mean so more very exciting stuff coming down the line when it comes to like online Saturn stuff. So we're just going to keep you tuned in to that stuff as it comes. Zaiden told me not to say too much about it because it really comes down to his time and his ability to get it done. But as soon as it is ready to report on, we'll let you know. Other than that, I probably should take a moment to mention all of our Patreon supporters. We had 2 new Patreon supporters, Nate Lawrence and Harvey Jones, since last time. Thank you guys for joining and contributing monetarily. We appreciate you guys. And also I should mention our $10 and $20 all access and VIP members that we love to shout on this cast. Wait a second. Hold on a second. I'm using the filters here and it's not working. All right, let's try that again. So we got the $10 and $20 patrons. You got Nate Lawrence. We got A Murder of Crows. Gem Clash or Rank. Cerulean. Normal Guy. King Ghidra. Robert Ramsey. Nutrageous. Blue Moon 95. Tanuki Trev. Johannes Fetz. Rowan Dinkt. Derek Pascarella. A-Team. Shadow Mask. Mamdu Madar, or we call him Mamphus. Emerald Nova. And Young Money Swee. We appreciate all you guys so much. Thank you for keeping this community going. Thank you for the monetary support. We really have we've kind of accumulated a pool of funds that we haven't dipped into personally or anything like that we're kind of saving for important things that we have to do with SHIRO. But essentially it's definitely paying to keep the lights on every month in terms of hosting the site, hosting the podcast. All that stuff is taken care of because of you guys. So we really appreciate it. And everybody else that even contributes like $1, we really appreciate your support as well. I know that not everybody can do that, and there's a million things that we want to support out there. I know because I support a lot of patrons myself, and you can't support them all. So we realize that, and we really appreciate that you guys chose to support us. We also really appreciate you guys getting in our Discord and being a part of the conversation. Maybe you guys even decide that you want to do something cool. Whether it's Shadow Mask like messing around with the MIDI stuff, or if it's like Hitomi doing the Waska cartridge, or doing work with Xenos Interactive over on Team Starlane. But there's like tons of if you guys can be as active as you want to be, but we really appreciate you guys being a part of this community and making cool stuff happen. I think we might end early because nobody has anything they want to talk. Maybe I'll go through the comments and just see if I missed anything. Again, thank you for folks that put money in the tip jar. I really appreciate that. I appreciate you, Martin Evans, for all of the hand claps and the cheers and the thumbs up in our Discord. You're always like the positive guy. You're there all hours. So it's incredible.
If you ever see a slew of emoji reactions, it's always you always know who it was.
It's like I'm like, who is this that's showering me with all of this moral support? And then I look and I'm like, oh, it's Martin. He's my man from the UK.
Martin.
Yeah. And I'm not seeing any specific questions targeted at me, but anyway, how you been, Derek, since I have you on here? I didn't get your updates. You moved into a new house.
Good. I did. I'm engaged to be married, so I did the next thing and moved in and got a new place. So everything is good. Life is good.
You got your happy place figured out? Yeah, I don't want to say your man cave, but like your happy place, is that all settled, or are you still in boxes?
I have a man cave. It's called the house.
It's called
No,
the
I'm just
entire. Okay.
That's a Sebastian Maniscalco joke. Man, my father had a man cave called the house.
It's called the.
But I've got my home office where I pretty much anything I want to put in there, or it's carte blanche. And I've got my awesome Sega shelf, which I think I posted it a few times. But like, yeah, it's like my one little museum quality display of stuff. I'm not a big collector, but things that are like near and dear to my heart or sentimental value, I like to hold on to them.
Same. Yeah, you don't need like the entire wall or like 4 walls around you surrounding, but you got your little you got your little trophy case or your shrine. Speaking of shelves, I saw Shadow got a new set of shelves that looked really slick. With like
for like $13 or something. No,
great,
more than that, but
it was more than that, but it was still a deal. It was like and they looked slick with an assortment of good Sega. And various gaming goodness on it. So shouts to Shadow for that score. But yeah, I think that's all we have time for today. I'm gonna do another family pizza night, pizza movie, have fun. I think Shadow, be sure to tell folks in the comments if you happen to be doing one of your VHS movie night stream things. And I know that's something that he does. I'm not ever able to catch those because I'm literally like watching movies with my own kids. But if you guys are interested in hanging and chilling with some old VHS anime or something like that, usually he's got something going on his Twitch. And
You guys missed the Resident Evil 2 update. I just realized this. We haven't talked about that.
We didn't. Are you kidding? Yeah, no, you're right. We didn't write an article. We should mention it. Yeah, it's is it Romulo?
Yeah.
Yeah, Romulo. So this was something back in, I think all the way back in May of last year. I know because I was in like Hawaii or something like that when he was texting me on the side saying like, check this out, keep it under your hat, but like I'm working on a Resident Evil 2 project or whatever. And he dropped it in the Sega Extreme and the SHIRO Discord, and it was very rudimentary. It was just basically like characters moving around on static background. But it's come a long way. You can probably say more about it than I can because I haven't really had a chance to like test it or anything.
I haven't had a chance to test it either, but I know just watching the videos people were posting, like. He did a pretty well job doing the first stage with Claire, like the beginning part with the gun shop.
Yeah,
it looked awesome for being on Saturn.
It looks like it's entirely, the whole thing is entirely doable. It really comes down to the amount of work and time that they have to put into it. I mean, if they see it through to the end, I mean, I imagine we'll have Resident Evil 2 running on Saturn, in its entirety. But yeah, as it is, I mean, Sorry,
yeah, no, it was just a quick question, Dave, or for you, Anthony. Was this just, well, I don't mean just to minimize the effort or the accomplishment, was this using the RE1 engine and it's just level modification, things like that? I know next to nothing about it either.
I think he's building it from the ground up, isn't he? Using like or something, or
yeah. Dan, if you want to dig up all the details and write this up, go be my guest because I have not had time this week.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know because I definitely seen it. I keep an eye on the Sega Extreme Discord. I don't talk in there a whole lot because people have very technical things, and it's beyond what I can really contribute to.
Right.
You look, and I have seen his updates on his Resident Evil 2 creation, I guess you could say. But I didn't know if you want me to write an article about it because like it's not playable yet. He's still working on it. He does have footage, but it just feels like it's still kind of a too minor of an update to put an article on the website about. It's like I'm sitting here, I was last few minutes because I was furiously scrolling through Discord trying to find it, and I cannot find it. But someone I don't even remember their name, and I'm so sorry to them, but they made a really cool tool for the Sega Saturn where you can import your models from Blender into a format that the Saturn can use. So like quads, like textures, and I think he even added garage shading. He's been posting updates like crazy over the last week or two.
So the reason I didn't...
go ahead. He asked me, could you highlight this on the website sometime? And I told him, well, I've been watching your tool, and I would like to put an article out. I was just waiting for you to like finish it so we could, because it just seemed like he was still working on it.
Well, that's good to know, because I'm going back to my DMs with them, and they did say, thank you, sorry for not being able to do this publicly right now. It's too much. Well, wait, what did they say before that? I'd rather keep it private for now, because that slows me down, like answering people, giving it and raising expectations and stuff like that. So they did actually tell me not to write an article, but that was months ago. So now that they've started posting more stuff, and it's become much more high profile in the general public, maybe that's like a sign to just go ahead. I didn't want to overstep. That's the thing, and that's why I've kept quiet about it. But I've been watching it this whole time. But yeah, this past week, I've not had time personally to dig up all of the information, which I would scrub the Sega Extreme, all the posts and everything like that, dig up all the information, write up a thorough article, kind of detailing what progress has been made. And I mean, hey, that's something you're up for. I'm sure people would love to know about it. This is something people are very excited about, for sure. We should have had Resident Evil 2 on Saturn. Some of the developers said it couldn't be done, or at least alleged. Yeah.
I mean, maybe it couldn't be done in the time frame that they would have needed before the console was going to be basically not supported anymore, but it would have been possible,
Maybe couldn't have been done with the tools that they had at the time, or the documentation that they had at the time. But of course, we know subsequently, hindsight's being 2020, everything. A lot of folks in this community have proven a lot of those statements wrong. So we'll see.
Well, maybe we'll work on that for next week. I have a lot to do at my actual job on Monday. Probably gonna be pulling a late day that day, but
if you want that one, you can have it. I'll let you have it. I won't give you a deadline. I'll just say do it right. And then,
all right.
And then you do the digging, and that'll be your article, because I know you'll do it justice.
I'll do my best.
All right, let me add a little clarity to this.
Yeah,
sure.
I won't put a time limit on you, but I do have to put a time limit on the show. We are right at time, and so that's
Let me quickly get through your information here.
What other information is there?
All right, he just publicly announced this week. That's why I brought it up.
Okay.
And the other thing is that he's working on his own engine, and that's why he's doing this.
Okay.
Oh, so this isn't Joe Engine or Yoel. This is his own thing.
He's doing it through Yoel, but that's a library. All right, now go ahead, finish.
An engine using the Yoel library. I gotcha.
Oh, I'm sorry. So the thing is, Knight, you kept getting cut off by some kind of gate on Discord. So I was only here. I didn't hear that what you were actually trying to provide clarity to the issue. So thank you for that. Cool. Awesome. Well, yeah. So now it's more than public information. A lot of people out there are retweeting it or sharing it on Facebook, and I know a lot of people are amazed. So it'd be nice to have a nice, thorough article kind of detailing the timeline and what's going on, so that we have more than just a viral post to share. It sounds like they want to keep working and keep their head down. So it'd be nice if there's somebody else, maybe a thorough article out there that can answer a lot of the questions that people have about it, is what I'm saying. Because they don't want to be the one to do that, is what they told me directly. But other than that, I want to just thank you guys for, being my wingman this week, since Pat was out sick. Poor Pat. Sounds terrible. I hope he feels better. And thank you, Dan. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Knight, for joining me. And thank you, everybody that supports SHIRO. Please feel free to give us a like on the video, share it out, subscribe if you're not subscribed, ring that bell. It sounds so silly saying that, but it actually helps because the notifications do work when we go live. So even if you forget, you know, it'll remind you. And until next time, this is SaturnDave reminding you that you must play Sega Saturn. Peace.
SEGA Saturn シロ